What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Turford, and today is Wednesday. You know what that means. Another Zelda Wednesday right here on youtube.com/Ryan Turford. Of course, I bring you new Let's Plays and other videos Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Of course, we are still playing Zelda 2 because it's a long-ass game, but that's okay. It's still fun. It's still awesome. So, in case you guys missed last week's episode, we actually made it to the Hidden Palace, aka the palace that's hidden in the desert. Jesus Christ, I can't talk. So I'm actually going to leave the palace, though, because I'm going to show you something that I forgot to show you guys last time. So we actually can collect the final heart container, and we're probably going to need it to do this palace. Basically, what you do is you go along the coast until eventually you find this room. And yes, you can jump on top of the heart container and downward stab. So, now that we've grabbed the final heart container, we are finally ready to go back to the palace. We're just going to jump up here. Alright, so now that we've arrived at the Hidden Palace, we can grab this magic bag. Now, for the most part, in case you guys missed last week's Let's Play as well, we've obtained the Master Key, so we don't actually need to get keys, and we only the only thing we have left to level is attack 8. So for the most part, you're going to see me try and avoid any type of encounters that would require me to go out of my way to get experience. So for the most part, at this point, if you've reached these stats, generally you can just breeze through a lot of these enemies. For example, this blue iron knuckle, I'm just going to try and push them off the ledge, whereas normally we would actually try and fight him the proper way. Goodbye. Alright. So, first of all, this particular palace is very roundabout in the sense that it involves a lot of manipulating the pits. So you see there, if I jumped into that pit, it wouldn't actually kill us. It would actually bring us to a different area of the palace, but we actually do want to go this way first. So, we're going to use our mystic key, our magic key, key of magic, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Alright, so we're going to kill that blue iron knuckle. Again, some of them are a pain to kill, especially with the jump tool active. We use life there. Now, this particular room, you will see me kill the wizards with Reflect. Normally, I wouldn't waste my magic on them because we aren't going for experience, but we will have to go through this room later, and they are annoying to deal with when you go through the second time. So there's no real reason for us not to kill them. I mean, it's in our best interest to kill them, I should say. Alright, so we actually want to get him to respawn. Because he's around here somewhere, he just will disappear off screen from time to time. There. Got him. There's one more wizard. We gotta deal with him first. Okay, so now we're about to go fight a mini-boss in this next room. Or, sorry, we got this room first, and then the mini-boss. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's okay, the mini-boss is a boss that you guys will actually remember from a previous palace. Once again, we could actually go trifle with going down there and taking out those enemies, but there's no real reason for us to do so. We're going to activate jump here. We're going to jump over that. So in this room, we got more wizards. More annoying wizards. We're actually activate the jump spell in this room as well. Because as you can tell by that fire that fell down, that fell off a cliff essentially, there's a giant hole there. Of course, we jumped down the giant hole, which isn't a big deal. We can always go back, but basically that big hole prevents us from getting to the boss encounter. But we can always lock and reload and try again. Boom. We're going to grab that experience bag. The main reason why I come over there to kill that red knuckle is there is a chance he will drop a magic potion, which is what we'll need. And the reason you don't see me activate the jump spell here is because we're going to need it a couple more times, so I'm not trying to activate it if we don't have to. God damn it. He like moved it the last second. Alright, so we're gonna just sort of stand here on top of him. Perfect. That's exactly what the kind of drop we want. Again, we could take out these wizards, but I really don't feel like it. Because in theory, because we can still block their magic, we just can't reflect it. We'll just activate that one more time, just for safe measure. And again, we will need the jump spell to get up here. So we can't actually get out of that pit without it. God damn it. I jumped right into that eyeball, of course. You can actually catch it off guard by doing the upward stab, like that. Alright, so we basically count 3 knights and then jump. And then that'll bring us over to this area. The reason you don't see me use fairy there is because of that big wall that's there. So it wouldn't actually let us pass if we did. So I'm going to activate the shield because we're going to fight this particular mini-boss. And you'll probably recognize it from one of the previous palaces, the Water Palace. We basically just have to knock him off his horse and then kill him. That's basically the strategy again. It's the same as last time. So the reason I actually kill him on this, knock him off his horse on that side is usually that goes a lot better. But essentially what you want to do is do that so then you can sort of just run it and jump and kill him, essentially. Because if you remember when we fought him in the previous palace, basically he'll run off screen if we sort of let him or pressure him too much. So that's why we sort of hang back. So once again, we don't need the key, but we grab it anyways. And we have gotten the cross. Now, the cross is a item that's very important to our livelihood going forward, but is not something we need in this particular palace. We'll basically use it when we're not here, because it's basically a passive story item that we need. Very similarly to the boots or the flute or other things that we just sort of need to access new areas outside of this particular area. Now, this particular part here, again, we could kill the wizards, but we do need to conserve our mana in order to jump out of the pit that we are in with the jump spell. But we can easily just run around them. We don't really need to deal with them. And again, since the blue enemy was killed before, we don't need to worry about killing him again. So now we're going to run all the way back this way. And now we can start using the pit basically to sort of go down and use it as an elevator to get to different areas. Of course, the reason I killed the wizards in this room, as I mentioned, is because we do have to come back through here again. And I don't feel like having to deal with them twice, because that's very annoying. So once again, the blue iron knuckle has been defeated already, so we don't have to worry about him. So we're going to jump down. And we're going to go through this area. There we go. We just barely made it because I missed the jump there. This blue iron knuckle we don't need to worry about, because hopefully we won't have to go through that room again. Now this room, out of all of the rooms in the palace, is actually probably the most dangerous if you're not careful. Because these blue horse head enemies come through. They are very similar to the Medusa heads from Castlevania. And if you've played Castlevania before, you know how much you hate Medusa heads, because they're the worst. So we basically want to be very, very patient in this room. Again, usually if we had the ability to use fairy, because of this brick wall, we don't. But if we could, that's usually the optimal way to get through that room. So we're low on magic, and we don't want to use our magic up unless we run into a bottle. So we're going to skip these wizards as much as I'd like to kill them. Okay, so we need to activate fairy in this room. The problem is we don't actually have enough magic to do so. So we're going to have to activate reflect and hopefully get enough magic to come through here. Otherwise, we're just going to have to die and start over. But if we lose a life that's okay. We should be fine either way. Again, if these guys don't drop anything, those horse head enemies won't drop anything, which means we will be out of luck and we'll be forced to kill ourselves. So let's see, because there should be one more that spawns. And again, whether or not the magic bottles spawn are dependent on the amount of enemies you kill in a row. So basically every like 5 enemies or something, there's a guaranteed magic drop. But it doesn't look like it's going to be, and we can't really get this guy to come up here to try our luck with him. So for the most part, I'm sorry, cruel world, but we're just going to have to jump into the pit and die. We'll lose our first life of 3, but we should still be okay. So we're going to activate the fairy spell to get through this area and just fly through, trying to avoid those orbs because they do drain our magic, not so much our health. That's not really a concern of ours with them. So once again, we're going to activate the shield spell in a room past this one, but that was actually a really good drop. That was actually the drop I wanted before we died. A red bottle is always good. So skip that. We're actually going to go through this area first. Okay, so once again, we're going to activate the shield because here we're going to run into that same enemy again. So another mini-boss, the same mini-boss as before. Again, he doesn't take a lot of hits to kill him, and he's not a huge pain unless we don't have shield, which can cause us to lose a bunch of health that we can sort of avoid losing if we just activate it. Especially because it's pretty cheap now, since we have all the magic potions, and our magic is basically at full capacity. Alright, so now we can just run through. Again, we would have probably lost like 2 or 3 chunks of health if we actually would have fought him there. So, what we're going to want to do here is activate the jump spell. And we're going to use it to jump over, because basically you can use that pit to navigate to more rooms, which is actually where we get to the boss room. But we're actually going to want to get this extra life, not because I feel like we're going to need it, but because I feel like just in case, right? So we want to hammer away at these guys if we can kill them, because otherwise they will drain our magic like it's nobody's business. Also, the boss in this dungeon is not incredibly difficult on his own, but the room he's in makes him quite an annoying encounter. So we're going to jump down. The reason I queued up the fairy spell is we're going to need to activate it in this room before we fall through the floor. Otherwise, we'll have to run and do most of that over again, which I do not feel like doing. But now, we have arrived at the boss. So, as I mentioned, this boss's room can be incredibly annoying, so you want to watch out. You may even want to use the jump spell, and if we die, for example, because of falling in the lava, you'll see me use it. But for the most part, I don't think he's too difficult on his own without activating it. I'm more worried about getting killed by his fire. So you just want to sort of hang back, basically wait for him to use his fire and then attack, but we want to be on the same platform as he is. Again, it'll probably be better once we have some more health and magic basically to kill him. He himself, though, is not very difficult. For the most part, his pattern is very simple to follow. We just weren't doing a very job of it, or it is a little bit tough to do if you are low on magic. So once again, we'll activate our shield, and now let's see where he spawns. And also, his movements are pretty random, so for the most part, like his spawning rate's random, I should say, as to which sort of pit he's going to spawn in. There's not really a good way of tracking that, so for the most part, it's really just luck of the draw as to where he's going to sort of spawn. That was a good run. And look at that, he's basically just spawning in the same spot. As I mentioned, it's very, very random, to the point where he might just spawn every single time in the same section. Boom! And we have defeated him. So I'm actually going to activate the life spell, but we're going to activate the jump spell here. Not because you can actually make that jump without it, but I'm doing that as a precautionary measure because if we die, we have to beat him over again. And I don't feel like doing that. So, at last, we have activated the last gem. And you know what that means? It means we have officially gained access to the Grand Palace. The Grand Palace is the final palace in the game that will allow us to wake up Princess Zelda. So once again, the goal of this dungeon was to get Attack 8. We have it now. So we have everything we need to go on our journey, except for one thing. So we're actually going to go here. And you're going to see me activate Fairy on this bridge. Why? Because this bridge can be really annoying if you don't have Fairy. So I'm just going to fly all the way across it. And there we're going to go to this town that we didn't go to before. So this town basically is deserted. If you go here before you have the cross, all of the enemies in this particular town you can't see. They're invisible. So that's the main reason why we get the cross. So the town itself is deserted, and you'll notice that like parts of buildings are taken out because crazy stuff happened in this town. But if we go in this first building, we can go down, and of course, we got one person left in town. It's a wizard, and he's going to give us a very important spell. And I love the translation on this. I can give you most powerful magic. So we've unlocked the Thunder Spell. Now, the Thunder Spell will usually use most of our mana to activate. It's a spell that, in order to unlock this, you actually have to have all of the magic potions in the game, and if you don't, you have to collect them first before you get it. Thunder is not going to really be used a lot by us, because what it does is it actually clears all of the enemies off the screen. But it also is required in the Grand Palace in order to even harm the final boss, which is like the Palace Defender. So basically, we need to use it on the final boss in order to even hurt him. So that's the main reason why we get it. So the reason why you see me just leave the town is because there's actually nothing else to collect in the town. So I'm going to activate Fairy again to just get all the way across this bridge. We're just going to go all the way across. We're just going to fly right over all these guys, because we don't even really care about them. So we're going to go up. Now we're going to go back to town for the last time, essentially, before we go to the final palace. So once again, we're going to sort of just avoid all these enemies. Also, we're good on lives. We're okay on lives. So we're going to go all the way back to New Katsu, which is basically the rebuilt version of the town that was wrecked that we just went to. Since they're just so close to the palace, that's why they were attacked first. Which is actually really cool story-wise. I love the fact that there's just like a deserted town that's haunted by ghosts. And then the people who were attacked in the town had to go form a village like hidden in the woods, essentially, so that Ganon's forces couldn't find them. Side note, I blew the flute, but I shouldn't have done that because it really doesn't do anything. Again, we sort of have to line ourselves up with where the town is, which is why you see me go in this very specific direction here. Boom. We just cleared out the forest. And now we're going to fill up everything by running all the way through here. We're going to grab our more magic. We're going to grab more health. And we are ready to go. So I'm going to run to the beginning of town. All the way back over here. And that's going to do it for this Let's Play. Again, we are not going to go travel to the Hidden Palace today. The Hidden Palace itself is very long, very dangerous, which is the main reason why I'm saving an entire Let's Play that's just devoted to the Hidden Palace, because it itself is very, very difficult and long, and you might even see me die and have to continue. And unfortunately, that's sort of the reality of playing this particular game, which is very, very difficult. So, if you like this Let's Play, like, subscribe, share with all your friends, as I mentioned before. You can also find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford, that's Turford. You also find me on Twitch twitch.tv/Ryan Turford. I have an exciting Extra Life event coming up. I will have details for you on that on Friday. So tune in Friday to my channel, and I will have info on that. You can also find me on the Game Moose podcast. I co-host it every single week with Drew McMillan. You can find us over at facebook.com/Game Moose podcast. You can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Game Moose. You can also find us on Twitter at game_moose_cast. Or, last but not least, if you're an iTunes person like myself, you can find us on iTunes. Just search for Game Moose and it'll come up. Or as well, in the description of this video, just like all the other ones, I embed a link for that on there. Anyways, that's going to do it for this Let's Play. I'm Ryan Turford. You've been watching another Zelda Wednesday right here on youtube.com/Ryan Turford. Jesus. And I'm out.